Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1 p.m. on Tuesday. What day is this? This is Tuesday the 7th, sorry. I'm looking at our meeting notice. We did have to change our location of our meeting, and that was posted as per permission. When we have a temporary closure of a building and is not capable of housing us for our board meeting, we are allowed to change the location. We apologize for the confusion, but it looks like our DMC family got the memo. We are going to have an opportunity during the course of the meeting for anybody who comes along for public comment. But we do want to call this meeting to order. We are at the Oso Creek campus of Del Mar College and happy to be back here. We held our meetings here for a good portion while the Center for Economic Development was getting renovated, and it's happy to be back. I do want to commend staff as we are opening this meeting for turning on a dime and setting up this boardroom, temporary boardroom for us. Literally with just about a couple of days' notice, or maybe less than that. So impressive work over the last 24 hours once the decision was made to move the meeting here. And I do, again, want to really acknowledge our IT staff, all of our facilities staff, our custodial staff, of course the office of the CEO, and our board liaison, Delia Pettis, for all the work that you have done to arrange the meeting here. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we'll call roll to establish a quorum. Dr. Babley? Regent Loeb? Here. Regent Garza? Here. Dr. Adami? Here. Regent Krull? Here. Dr. Turner is in the building. She'll be joining us shortly. I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Would you all please join us in a moment of silence? Thank you. I'm going to ask our board secretary, Regent Garza, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We do have screens available, and so if you will please join us in reading our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College empowers our communities to achieve their dreams. We are streaming the live audio and video from the Board of Regents meeting on the website in real time, with exception of portions of the meeting as may be considered closed session by statute. We have an opportunity for general public comment for items not on our agenda. Is there anyone here to make general public comment to the board? Seeing none, we will move on with some recognitions, and I'm going to invite Dr. John DeHalcom up to tell us about some of our outstanding faculty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Daisy Zhang, Professor of Biotechnology, completed the requirement for Del Mar College to receive an official certificate from the Office of the Governor of Texas, recognizing the college's leadership in integrating the industry-defined biotechnology and biomedical skill standards for research and development into its Associate of Applied Science Biotechnology degree. They sent a very nice framed certificate from the governor's office, which says, as Governor of Texas, I applaud your leadership, your commitment to innovation. By building curricula around Texas, recognize industry standards, you prepare the next generation to meet the most demanding challenges facing our people, and your impact therefore extends far beyond the walls of the classroom. You play a crucial role in the success of our great state by broadening students' horizons and setting them on the path to prosperity. You have no doubt changed countless lives for the better, and you have likewise helped preserve Texas's tremendous economic success. With colleges like yours leading the way, I'm certain that the Lone Star State will continue to prosper for generations to come. And the First Lady, Cecilia Abbott, joins in extending those congratulations. I'd like to bring Daisy up and talk a little bit more about her. We call her Daisy. I know I should say Dr. Zhang, but Daisy. So Skill standards are performance specifications that identify the knowledge, skills, and abilities of individual needs to succeed in the workplace. Industry-based skill standards can help ensure that more people are prepared for high-wage jobs requiring highly skilled workers. Dr. Zhang has worked tirelessly to provide her students with the highest level of performance in the field of biotechnology. She's incorporated these skill standards, and that's evident in the success of her students. Her students generally function at a graduate level when they leave here, and I can attest to that. Many colleagues at the neighboring universities will say, wow, those students, they know more than our graduate students do. And I hear that quite a bit among colleagues. Planned research internships also that she's focused on for many years have propelled students to success. Since establishment of the biotechnology program, probably we're estimating over 90% of the students who enrolled in the program have completed the degree, with half of them transferred to university or graduate school to continue their research and continue their career, and others gaining employment in industry. Some of these transferred graduates have gone on to get their doctoral degrees. For the ones who entered industry, some of them have been promoted to higher management levels. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Daisy Zhang in receiving recognition from the Governor's Office for meeting those skill standards. Daisy?
Thank you, Dr. Holcomb. Board of Regent members, Dr. Escamilla, Dr. Holcomb, and Dr. Sather, and everybody. I feel very honored and privileged to be here, to be recognized. My parents were educators, and growing up in China, my dad always told me the best education was in America. So I came here 26 years ago, and I really did got the best education I could get. And better than that, when Del Mar hired me 16 years ago to lead biotech program, I have a chance to push forward that education to the next generation, to my students. Yes, I did work as hard as I can. The program for 16 years, but I have to say that without the college support, administration support, we couldn't be here. We couldn't last this long successfully. The support sometimes is the guidance. For example, Dr. Holcomb was the one to establish our collaboration with NCTM. We got almost $500,000 of NSF grant because of that, because of her guidance. And we successfully certified over 50 students to get recognized by the industry. So that is not more than support. That is, with her help, we've been able to get there. And it's not easy to lead a program and like that. The support also comes from, for example, our foundation office. Matthew, you support my summer interns every summer from the last 10 years. And those money are very helpful for those interns. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's everybody's effort to make any program successful in Del Mar. And most important, if it wasn't for my students, those young people who wants to transform their life, who wants to learn, we wouldn't be here. So may we have all many more years of success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zhang, and congratulations once again for bringing these kinds of accolades to Del Mar College. You are indeed the best of the best. Thank you. Dr. Holcomb, another one.
Yes, of course. We have a lot to celebrate. On March 5th, 2026, Laura Wright Bennick, Associate Professor of Architecture and Drafting Technology, was honored at the 46th Annual Why Women in Careers event. She was recognized for her dedication to education and workforce development in helping shape the generation of skilled professionals in our community. And then she was given the Rising Star Award at that event. Laura earned her Master's of Architecture at Texas Tech and received her architectural license 2005, and she's never stopped a second in her life, I can tell you. It's always go, 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 right, Laura? Always. And I found out from the event of the Why Women in Careers, her mother is just the same. She says this is inherited, this energy, going after everything. But her practical workforce experience as a project manager helps our students learn the skills needed in the field. Laura has served as chair of the Architecture, Aviation, Automotive Department, but in order to build the passion that she has, the architectural program, she wanted to be director so that she could solely focus on architecture. And she's done a great job in collaborations with other institutions, such as A&M and other universities. But speaking of transfer, she was selected just recently to serve representing Del Mar College and other community colleges at the Coordinating Board Texas Transfer Advisory Committee. In fact, she's meeting with that committee this afternoon, and she asked them to delay just a few minutes so she could be here today. So she's fast at work. So it's important that she presents what she knows. She's one of the most knowledgeable people, I would say, in all of South Texas about architecture. So it's very important that she shares what she knows on this transfer committee so that we can make sure students transfer effectively to universities in architecture. But I'd like you to join me in congratulating Laura Wright Bennick today for all of her achievements. There's so many, I couldn't list them all, but we're recognizing her for this Rising Star Award today. Laura?
I'm very honored to receive this award. My mother was nominated for this award back in 1987, so it's inherited. It runs in the family. We call it the family curse. But I was very honored. Dr. Sandra Clement with CCISD was the person that nominated me. And I was very honored to receive this award, looking at all the other women that have received this prestigious award in our community. I'm very grateful to be considered a part of that group. And I also am very thankful to Del Mar College that it has allowed me to do these things and to grow this program and to provide an architectural education, something that wasn't available to me when I was growing up. So I'm glad that we are now partnering with A&M Corpus Christi to bring a Bachelor's of Architecture to Corpus Christi, something that has been long time coming. And so I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations again, Laura. Thank you, Dr. Halcomb, for bringing, again, those two outstanding examples of our outstanding faculty. Now we're going to ask Ms. Tammy McDonald to come up and introduce some new folks. Some folks we've met before, some new folks as well.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It is my privilege today to bring forth this recognition. The Del Mar College Police Department has been operating for several years with a combination of full-time command staff, part-time police officers, civilian staff, and contracted security. Recently, the college onboarded our first full-time police officers. Official oaths of officers have been taken at the time they assumed their duties, but we thought with this recent addition that we wanted to bring together this inaugural team of our officers and highlight and celebrate with a ceremonial swearing in. So I would like to start with our chief, but I want to say a few words about her, but I'm going to make her come stand next to me. Lauren? Chief Lauren Wright has a distinguished career spanning over 4 decades. Following her graduation from the Corpus Christi Police Department Academy, she had several assignments including patrol, juvenile, community relations, criminal investigations. She was promoted to lieutenant. She served 22 years on the hostage negotiation team, and 15 of those she was a team supervisor before she retired in 2013. She didn't stay retired very long because in 2014 she joined Del Mar College part-time as our security coordinator. In 2015, she was promoted into the chief of security role. And in 2021, she was placed in the interim chief role, and then she was appointed as chief of police in 2024. Chief Wright is also a proud Del Mar College Viking. She obtained her associate's in applied science in business administration from Del Mar College, a Bachelor of Science with honors in criminal justice from Corpus Christi State University. In 2010, she earned a Master's of Science in Counseling from A&M Corpus. And she also is a licensed professional counselor. She obtained that in 2015. She continues to carry that license, and she also is a Master Peace Officer. So it is my pleasure. I'm going to actually get to conduct the swearing in of Chief White, but I want to give just one little, I'm going to say, testimony of who Lauren is. So a few years ago, and I know a lot of you remember this, we had the unfortunate circumstance of having a couple of hoax calls that there was an active threat on Heritage Campus. So when those events had finished and several of the administration, we decided to go, when the all clear was given by law enforcement, to go walk the buildings and check on people and go in and out of buildings. So I happened to go into the Harbin Center. So I contacted the students and also a lot of our staff. And some of the first comments they made sure they told me, said, you know, we were ready to go and lock ourselves in our offices to get safe, to shelter in place. And we knew that we were going to be okay because Lauren was running toward the danger. So anyway, so that's who Lauren is. Okay, so I'm going to get myself together and we're going to do this right now.
Nice job, Tammy. Nice job reintroducing our chief as y'all get ready. Yeah, that's Lauren. She's running towards the trouble and everybody else sheltering in place. We know her bravery.
We practice to hold together and it just doesn't work sometimes.
So here you go.
All right, so raise your right hand. I
I, Lauren White,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties
discharge and perform all the duties
incumbent upon me as a chief of police
incumbent upon me as the Chief of Police
for the Del Mar College District Police Department,
for the Del Mar College District Police Department,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution,
that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of the state of Texas,
and of the state of Texas,
and that I will endeavor to keep the peace,
and I will endeavor to keep the peace,
protect life and property,
protect life and property,
and uphold the rights of all persons
and uphold the rights of all persons
while enforcing the laws of this state.
while enforcing the laws of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So I'm going to turn it to Chief White, and she is going to do the swearing in of our officers.
So I would call up Captain Nathan Garcia, Officer Chris Carlisle, and Officer Frank Izagari. Please raise your right hand. I
I, Christopher Carlisle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties
discharge and perform all the duties
incumbent upon me as a police officer
incumbent upon me as a police officer
for the Del Mar College District Police Department,
for the Del Mar District Police Department,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of the state of Texas,
and of the state of Texas,
and that I will endeavor to keep the peace,
and that I will endeavor to keep the peace,
protect life and property,
protect life and property,
and uphold the rights of all persons
and uphold the rights of all persons
while enforcing the laws of this state.
while enforcing the laws of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And before I relinquish the mics, I want to take an opportunity to present to the board and to Dr. Escamilla on behalf of the college a little token of thanks from the department.
It's a coin that says courage, integrity, and empathy, the Viking way, Del Mar College District, Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yeah. Not today, sir.
Chief White, thank you. Thank you so very much. Congratulations, gentlemen. I know that you've been on duty already, but we do appreciate you being here today and being a part of this ceremonial swearing in. I think it's important for folks to know the extent of our law enforcement on the campuses. We do obviously supplement that with other security forces, but we want to thank you for being here today and introducing all the officers to us.
And she pointed out I forgot somebody. No, somebody's. We couldn't do this without our civilian staff. I want to recognize Mona Chavez. Stand up, Mona. And Alex Cahill. Alex helps us with the cameras and access control.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. All right, we're going to move on to our college president's report. Dr. Escamilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. And again, congratulations to our newly minted police department here at Del Mar College. Safety, health, safety, security is our first priority at Del Mar College, and as such, we are so happy, proud, excited, and relieved to have this team developing. And to Vice President Tammy McDonald, thank you for all your due diligence to getting us to this point. We look forward to growing this team together. Thank you, Zach. Moving ahead, more celebrations in the way of an introduction. It is my pleasure, Regents, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce technically and officially, as of April 1st, Dr. Gerald Napoles, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Del Mar College. Dr. Napoles joins us after as he continues his distinguished career of approximately 25 years in higher education, serving in various roles throughout his career. I've had the honor of knowing Dr. Napoles for approximately 20 of those years when we met way back in the days, back at the 40 Acres in Austin at the University of Texas. And his roles include various vice presidents' roles throughout different colleges, from interning in Los Angeles, working as a vice president in Hazard County, Kentucky, at a very different community and technical college there as well. And then, not the least of which was his past a little over 10 years as finishing his career of over a decade as a vice chancellor of the Lone Star Community College System, North Harris County, of which he was also a campus president there twice, at two very large institutions, at North Harris College and Cy-Fair College as well. Extremely distinguished, extremely capable, and let me just say, if you've met him already, you know he's extremely excitable very quickly. He's got energy for all of us. Dr. Napoles will be, like I said, has officially joined us physically in his first day yesterday. His wife, Donna, and his two children, 9, Layla, and 5, Luke, will be joining us shortly and moving to town and bringing that beautiful family to our community to join us and serving in the capacity of Chief Operating Officer, and is importantly becoming an integral part of this community. He's quickly fallen in love with this community. I think the beach has a lot to do with it, if you ask me personally. But anyway, as he comes to the podium, I'm going to ask him to come up and just share a few remarks at the podium. Join me in welcoming Dr. Gerald Napoles, our new EVP COO.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Escamilla, for those very generous words. And for the good days and the hard days, I'll remind you of those wonderful introductions. Chair Scott, members of the Board of Regents, it's truly an honor to be with you today. I've watched the last year and a half of the publicly accessible videos, and I appreciate you for your leadership, your wisdom, your voices, and most importantly, your compassion for supporting and doing what may not always be the easy things, but always what y'all determine to be the best things for the students and for the community. It's truly an honor you made it sound like I was retiring, and I'm not, I'm just gonna work more, to be part of this family. I was a community college student, and so one day maybe I can be a Viking as an alumni, but I know that with my daughter being 9 and with my son being 5, they have an opportunity to attend either through the dual credit route or after they go through high school. My wife is excited to be here, but truly an honor to stand with and sit with the wonderful people beside me and the people that are listening. I've had the opportunity to work in many places, and I've worked and have grown up a lot, especially the last 11 years in Houston. And it's not just the beaches here, it's the people. And so if you look at some of my statements in my bio, I've worked in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, the pavements of downtown LA, the wonderful, now silly stuff of Dallas now that I was a Houstonian. And Corpus Christi has that. It has suburban, urban, and rural. And those are the communities, the people that we serve, and it's truly an honor to be part of this. I've been part of great teams, and the best part about becoming a Del Mar College Viking is I'm part of a wonderful family that I'll be able to contribute to and learn from. And so it's truly an honor. Thank you for supporting the President's recommendation, and I promise that I'll do the best that I can. And if my track record says anything, then not only will the students benefit, but the employees will benefit, and we're talking about generational changes. So truly an honor to be with you. Thank you for your hospitality last month. Thank you for your hospitality in advance for some events. And one of the things that went to all 8,000 employees at Lone Star College was, we support Dr. Napolis. We will miss him, but he's going because he thinks this is a calling. And that is why I'm here. I'm blessed to be here, and I thank you for your time. And I am very honored to be with my colleagues here and that are listening. So you'll get my best, and even better than that, you'll also get my wife and my 2 children, the 3 most valuable things to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Napolis, we welcome you on behalf of the Board of Regents. I think you've had a chance to visit with each of us individually or in small groups, and so welcome. And you are right, you are joining a great team. This board has great respect for the leadership and for the faculty and staff that serve our community and serve our students, so welcome.
Thank you again. And moving on for the rest of my report, thank you, Madam Chair. On March 4th, I was honored to join the La Quinta Channel Community Advisory Panel, which was held in Gregory Portland High School. I attended alongside my colleagues and counterparts from several different school districts, including Gregory Portland, Sinton, and Ingleside, as well as the Craft Training Center's chairman of the board. I was honored to be there and presenting to industry leaders as well as community leaders. On the 23rd, I attended the Texas Association of Community Colleges CEO virtual meeting. That was a CEO meeting only. Again, this is to memorialize our time together as CEOs as we prepare for next year's legislative session. There's still many moving parts to the legislation and the rules making and so forth from some past legislation, and so we continue to meet on a regular basis. That was one of those meetings. On the 25th, it was such a joy. It was such an awesome opportunity. On the 25th, over in the Retama room at Heritage Campus, whereby Del Mar College hosted our brothers and sisters, our extended family members from community and schools as a retreat, in a retreat format, and really bonded and had such a great opportunity, a full half day's time of investing and learning about each other's operations. It was good to have had them here for a few months As Rachel said, it was good for them to come and have some time, and now we know where the gaps are, at least to this point. And as such, we began filling those gaps very quickly. It's an excitable bunch. We're so proud to have them as part of what we believe is a best practice across the state and across the country with that partnership. On the 27th, albeit virtually, I attended the Community College Standing Advisory Committee as I remain part of that group and in touch with our Commissioner of Higher Ed and his team to continue again to tease out all the issues and so forth that remain in implementing everything from a House Bill 8 all the way through primarily the funding mechanisms of the state, and through those funding mechanisms there are some inherent good problems. We'll continue to bring back to you as we resolve them, or at least better understand them, but just know that on the 27th we spent a lot of time preparing for future conversations about such topic. And on the 2nd, I was so honored. We were so honored. The team and I, there was about a dozen or more of us, a couple dozen maybe, that hosted the Coastal Bend College administration and leadership, led by their president and CEO, Dr. Zach Swatis, a fine administrator with a fine team that he is assembling. They came down to share all kinds of information and to partner up and to tie in and begin using primarily focusing on tying together with our Bachelor of Applied Science of Organizational Management and Leadership as a transfer option for their students and employees. So stay tuned as this develops. We're tying loose ends, lots of loose ends out there, right? And so I keep saying that, but truly this opportunity was for us to all come together and begin working on those kinds of projects, as well as sharing best practices at the college. It's a true partnership that we're looking forward to advancing with them and helping them advance their students and staff. And I look forward to bringing that final product back to you all to show off. That concludes my reports. I'm happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Do we have any questions? I'm going to ask the board to indulge me. I can't see you all as well, and I don't have the little panel in front of me, so if you do have a question, please pop up and let me know that you have a question. All right, we're going to move on to our staff reports. We're going to bring Ms. Tammy McDonald back up to give us a full DMC Police Department update.
Thank you. The Delmar College Police Department moved into a newly renovated building in May of 2024. It's there on the corner of Ayers and Edwards. This designated TCOL required space was essential to the development of the overall police department operations. What I would like to do is I'm going to let Chief White come up, and she's going to provide you with the status. There's a lot of work that goes in, I'm going to say, behind the scenes and activity that has to be put in place when you're standing up a police department and as you develop it. So I'm going to ask Chief White to go ahead and give you an update on the last couple of years. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. So the last couple of years, what have all we've been doing? One of the things that Dr. Escamilla just said is about a partnership, and I truly believe that this is a partnership with the police department and the college, not just with us, with the board, but also with our community as a whole, faculty, students, and staff, that we provide a safe and secure location for people to go to school. As Tammy said, we moved into the building in 2024. We have over 6,100 square feet. It has office space, it has a training room, interrogation rooms. We have a state-of-the-art evidence room. The CCPD officers, command staff that have come over and seen our building are thoroughly impressed with what we have put into making sure that we have the ability to do the job and to do it correctly. Tammy pointed out that the station does comply with all TCOL mandates for what we are required to have to be a licensed department. We do have full-time and part-time officers along with our support staff and the commissioned they're not commissioned, I'm sorry, the licensed security. We do now have a communications agreement with Metrocom, so that the officers' radios do go directly to Metrocom. And we have established offices on all of our campuses. So there's one here and one at Windward, as well as the main station. We've received some vehicles. We're receiving another one today. Yay. We've also, in an ability to get around easier on campus, we purchased some Moto UTVs so that we can have the officers get out and really get to know our students and our faculty and staff. With the help of Captain Garcia, we finalized our badge design, we finalized our patches, we got our uniforms, as you all have seen today. And we are in compliance with House Bill 33, which requires that we have breaching tools and ballistic shields for all of our campuses. We are in the process of continuing to hire. We have several applicants. The background process is lengthy, but we hope to be bringing more officers on shortly. We are in the process also, well, actually, we just completed it last week, Nathan? Last week, we completed one of our systems is to have TCIC, NCIC, and TLITS, which is the Texas Crime Information Computer. It lets us to run people, it lets us run vehicles, and that was completed last week. And we're working on upgrading our camera system and assessment of when the camera system was installed years ago, trees hadn't grown up. So we're trying to do an assessment of maybe where we need to replace cameras. So we're in the middle of that as well. Do you all have any questions for us? No? Well, then thank you very much.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief. Yep.
All right. Excuse me. Our next item on our staff reports is regarding water reduction efforts and some possible additional water resources to explore planning. Do you have any introductory remarks, Dr. Escamilla?
Yes, Madam Chair, I appreciate that opportunity to open up a hopefully which will be a broader discussion on the water issues that we are facing in this region of the state. Certainly here focused here in Corpus Christi. Del Mar College is an inextricable partner and member of this community, and as such, the team and I, in accordance with conversations from the Board of Regents, are putting together and compiling opportunities that have been long in existence and newer opportunities to both preserve, conserve, and water in the short term and in the long term, because both of those will be critical. I'm going to defer to Vice President McDonald to crack open this conversation, if you will, and hopefully we can. Well, not hopefully, but you can expect that we'll be coming back with smaller bites of the projects as they unroll. Thank you.
Microphone's not on.
Is the green light on, Tammy?
The green light's on.
There you go. You just got to.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry.
That works better.
As the City of Corpus Christi considers implementing a Level 1 water drought, it's important to review water reduction efforts that we have in place, efforts that are in progress, additional options for water reduction, other resources to explore, and next steps in planning and preparedness. In June of 2022, we went to Stage 1 water restrictions. Stage 2 began in March of 24, and Stage 3 restrictions began in December of 24. Last week, actually on March the 30th, Del Mar College representatives met with representatives from the City of Corpus Christi Office of Emergency Management, Water and Communications Departments to discuss current conditions, resource needs, planning, and preparedness in the event of a Level 1 water drought. I want to thank, I have some people that helped with this, of course, we have a lot of the facility staff, but we have, in a little bit, I'll call up John Strybos. He is still helping us part-time in advisory capacity. So I'll have him come up in a little bit, and then Jackie Landrum will come up in a little while and talk about some tax valuation information as part of the presentation. But I wanted to take them and the facilities team for helping with this project. So college-wide, we initiated low-flow fixtures. They were installed in most restrooms. Automatic faucets installed in most restrooms. HVAC use carefully monitored so that we can optimize our chilled water use. Any leaks in systems, water irrigation, or chilled water identified and repaired as soon as possible. Exterior power washing was restricted to only if it's a health or safety issue, so we're not doing any external washing unless it falls under that. And then our landscaping and irrigation were in compliance with city requirements, no irrigation allowed. What we're also doing to reduce water is we're putting in place, so if there's any need for anything to do with our planting, we have gone to zero-scape. So we are not going back in and putting anything extra in that requires water. So we are moving it to zero-scape so that there gives you kind of the process that they're going through. So I'm going to ask John Strybos to come up and talk about a water reduction project that we already had in progress. John?
We've been in discussion with the city of Corpus Christi and have approval from them. We have 100% construction documents for a water line, effluent water line that connects to the water line, effluent water line over by Billwett Park. We'll be advertising that project soon and then awarding that project through the board probably later this spring. It's going to be the water line will provide effluent water to the water feature that we can see outside. So it'll have water in it, and that water will then be used for landscape irrigation as well as for chilled water. And so our water use will be significantly reduced here at this campus through that use. Are there any questions right now about the status of that project?
Thank you, John. So other proposed options for water reduction, adjusted thermostats so that reduce the amount of chilled water usage in an HVAC system. When replacing equipment, purchase water efficient models. Modified operational schedules. Place some limitations or restrictions on events on campus. Like I said, these are all just, we decided we needed to put everything out there right now at this point. So these are just a lot of options we're putting out. Additional water resources that we're exploring. Capture and reuse air handler unit. Utilize water tankers to replenish chilled water for the HVAC. We have an aquatic center and other critical needs. Additional opportunities for reclaimed water. One of those opportunities is on Windward. I know that Dean Davis Merrill is working on for the fire program to capture and reclaim the water they use in that program so that we can reuse that excess water. So that is in the works right now also. We're exploring if we could drill a water well on Windward. And the purpose would be also to put in a filtration system so that we could utilize the water that's semi-treated, not potable, but semi-treated, so we can run it through our equipment for chilled water and possible instructional program needs. Of course, Fire Academy. And where appropriate, the untreated effluent water could be used for other instructional programs and used for irrigation and grounds. I'm going to ask Ms. Landrum to come up and talk about property valuations. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry, questions?
Go ahead. Ladies first.
So I'm just curious on estimated costs and that we spent for supporting the water reduction efforts and about future costs. Because I'm just kind of curious because I don't think we have this budgeted. And where's the funding sources coming from to help support this?
Yes, ma'am. And so I'll speak specifically to probably there's the ongoing efforts and smaller projects that are built into our operational and maintenance programs. Those are the smaller fixes here and there. Those are built into the budgets. But the one that's out there that is that we're working toward bringing forth, Mr. Strybos, you could help me on this cost estimate, and is the effluent project that'll offset costs forever. once it gets in place. My understanding is it's approximately a $1.5 million setup fee, if you will.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and the timing of that?
So the plans are ready, working with purchasing to get the project advertised, and we'll award it, start construction. The engineer's estimate is 90 days for construction. And so it's bring the pipeline actually to the water feature, and then we have to change all our sprinkler heads, put in filtration system, and connect it to the chilled water system. So there's some other parts that go with it.
Sure.
And we're going to reline the pond itself with a new liner so that we won't have leakage from that, as well as it'll reduce maintenance costs on the pond itself. And so we're looking in the range of $1.5 million.
And then to answer the rest of the question, Regent Turner, the source of that, of those funds are out of the plant fund, if I'm not mistaken. Tammy, did we have that pegged for out of the plant? I know we had it designated.
It's on our list for that, yes, sir.
Yep. So it would be coming out of
I'm sorry.
It's on our list for that, yes.
for the plant fund?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
out of the plant fund is where it'll be funded from. So it's not operational dollars. Again, it's a project that's been coming. We've been working on this for a long time.
Yes.
And this is really the second iteration. Regents, over 12 years ago, we attempted to get a project going out at the Windward campus, and so we've been, very anxiously awaiting these opportunities. Unfortunately, that program did not come to fruition. That being said, this one is right there, and that's the cost that I'm talking about is stubbing it, running the pipe down from the source right here on Yorktown and crossing the road, I guess,
Yes,
boring underneath the road,
Yes,
obviously, and coming to our retention pond. Those are the details so far. We're excited about those opportunities, and I think, well, I'll save more comments later. I just want to answer the question.
And then we added to the project the filtration system so that we can use it for chilled water, because you have to filter it to a certain point or it will damage your equipment.
Diversifying the uses of the water that we derive from there is going to be our opportunity.
Yeah, because chilled water is one of our major consumers of water, our HVAC systems.
Richard Paul?
Couple of questions. Is the city of Corpus Christi contributing to the effluent line here for the Oso Creek campus, since they might take advantage of it for the police facility and the two police facilities?
That is part of the agreement that we're working with on them,
Okay.
on the cost sharing. So yes, we're working with the city to get a definitive answer on that.
All right, with respect to the water well at the Windward campus, my knowledge of the groundwater in this area is that it's very poor. And possibly as an alternative to explore with the city and Foresight Golf to tap into the effluent line that runs from the Greenwood plant to the Lozano Golf Center?
Yes, sir. We're in discussions now with the city on that, beginning that study. There was a concern that there may not be enough capacity, but we think there is enough capacity.
I believe there is.
Yes, sir. We're beginning that process now also.
There's some old designs and paperwork regarding that. That's the one that's the project that I was referring to, Regent Kroll, that we talked about over 10 years ago. So I think there's some back documents and so forth that we can refer to the city to as well.
Yes, we initiated that a few weeks ago. John and I had talked about it, so I asked him to, in his capacity, helping us with a lot of these projects, to move forward with that initiation. Again, these are just things to explore, and if the water well doesn't work out for Windward, that's not the best option, but we just wanted to put everything out there right now that we could possibly look into as an additional resource.
Answer your question? Other questions from Regents? Yes, Dr. Babley and then Mr. Loeb.
I compliment the leadership here. You seem to be more proactive than our illustrious city leadership. So I really applaud you for that, and I urge you to stay ahead and keep offering solutions, coming up on your own, and researching how other areas of our state are handling this, and community colleges are handling this. And I'd like you to stay ahead of the game. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. When I met with the emergency operations people with the city, of course, some of their questions were, how can we help? And so one question I did ask was, help us identify if there are any additional resources with monies out there available to help us with these projects. So that was one ask I did make when we were at the meeting. If they knew of anything, please make us aware of it. And I mean, we're researching also, but that was one ask that we put out there, is to help us identify some resources to help pay for these projects.
I might also add that I had an occasion to meet and discuss issues with our Congressman, Representative Vicente Gonzalez, last week. He is waiting for some sort of a solution and a proposal to be taken to his office in Washington, because they have funds, they have resources. They're just standing by for our leadership to present some, proposals. And I urge us to really be proactive and act on these matters. David.
So, how much water is our chilled water system using a year at all three campuses?
A little over 39 million.
Okay.
That was for 2025. That was the number
for 2025.
A little over 39 million.
So that's about, at today's rates, about $200,000 a year in water.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir. Approximately, yes.
So, I mean, I think one thing I would point out on the reuse is the rate for reuse for reclaimed water is a quarter of what the rate for treated water is. And the general expectation is by the end of this, the city's water rates are going to be up 50% or more. So $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but in the context of a 50% rate increase on $200,000 and being able to actually lower our bill to pay for it, we can actually end up making money off this. It'd be great if we can get a grant to pay for it, but I just wanted to point that out. And then that water will be there for somebody else to buy it. So I would assume overall the chilled water systems are the bulk of our use?
Yes, sir. They're the primary user.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think if we can get Windward and here on reclaimed water, I think we've done our part. I'd really encourage you all to move forward. I would point out, if you want us to have a special meeting to approve something, that's fine. I can show up, but I'd also point out the governor's waived a lot of that stuff under emergency orders. So, my feeling is we have a responsibility as an institution to lead on this. We have the capability to make changes that will free up water for other users who maybe are not capable of making the changes we are. And so we need to do the responsible thing and go forward. I really like the idea on the aquatic center. I know the city's figuring out what to do on its pools. Theirs are outdoors. We have one of the few indoor pools that's not as subject to evaporation as outdoor pools are. So I would encourage y'all to make that available for them for parks and rec uses, because they still want to teach kids to swim and stuff like that. And so I think if we can find a way to keep that pool operating and be able to offer it to the city and the community to be able to use when, outdoor pool use is heavily restricted or banned, I think that's a great thing for us to contribute as well. I just want to thank you all. It's been really nice being able to tell people that we have a plan and that we're moving forward. I heard really great things from the city staff about our meeting with them and how well prepared we were. And I hope others look at what you all have been doing as an example and follow your lead and our lead. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a question or comment, Mr.
No.
Garza? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Real quickly, kudos to staff and looking forward and looking at challenges that we're going to have with this in this particular situation we're in related to water shortages. We'll caution you just to make sure that you're talking constantly related to things that we do or spend on affluent use, because again, in the past, people have been hesitant to convert over to using the use of affluent, but in this particular time, it's going to become competitive projects and use of affluent is going to be competitive. So first come, first serve, so to speak. Make sure whatever that we get promised, that we have something in writing or some sort of contract or some sort of reserve amount so that we can invest in knowing full well that we're going to be getting some benefit. And it's also going to keep us out in front and helping the community try to quit reusing water versus using the precious resource that we've been so I want to say used to having at our fingertips. Secondly, in terms of, and I'm all for Zeroscape. I served on the Water Conservation Board when I was on the City Council, and again, the other thing is that when we build facilities or we've done improvements to facilities, we've had to spend money on landscaping and all the things that we did in order to try to make our campuses beautiful. And now when we convert to Zeroscape, we have to get some sort of a commitment saying that those dollars are going to be at least count for us in terms of meeting the obligations that we have to meet in terms of landscaping. That we're not later, the situation changes a few years from now, that we're not later penalized and having to go back and rework some of the stuff that we did in order to be more cost efficient and water effective. So again, those are the two things that I've got to comment. But thank you so much for the work we're doing at this time. Thanks.
I do have some questions on a couple of the slides. The one that says proposed options for water reduction. When you talk about modified operational schedules, I think that's something that we need to understand and the public needs to understand as you're developing that as a potential option and how that might impact instruction versus optional or recreational use. So I think that's, obviously the priority would be instruction, but I just think we need to understand what that means if that proposed option comes about.
Yes, Madam Chair, we will not move without informing the board and the whole world what we're even suggesting, because we would want feedback both from the Board of Regents and certainly our staff and students. Anytime we move that amount of cheese, we're gonna talk first.
And what that means and what the gains and losses would be and why you're proposing it, yeah. The other, on the next slide, we talk about additional water resources to explore. Some of those have capital expenditures, which might then give us operational savings. To Mr. Loeb's point and to Dr. Turner's point, I think it's important that we understand what the capital investment is in some of these options versus the ongoing operational, whether it's temporary or long-term operational costs or savings, and specifically related to the capture and reuse air handling unit. What do those expenditures look like for us to be able to capture? I mean, there's some equipment that's involved in that. There's equipment in drilling wells. There's equipment in some of that. Again, short-term capital expense for long-term operational gain, hopefully. The one that I'm really interested in is utilizing water tankers for chiller or other use. And when we get into that, I realize that's a short-term operational cost, but how are we costing that out, and are those kinds of options going to come back to us so we can understand the budget implications?
Anything to do with water is going to come back. And again, I want everyone out there to know that I've been talking to the Board of Regents and saying this is the beginning of a broad conversation and an ongoing conversation, because droughts, unfortunately, will recur, as bad as the one is that we're in currently, just like storms and everything else. I don't want to jinx us, but that being said, we must be prepared. We must think in this new way going forth, and that's just going to be the way we should do business forever. And as such, those conversations will come back for full discussion and vetting with the Board of Regents.
Well, I too want to applaud you for the breadth of all the things that you're considering. And I think this is an important conversation for us to continue to have in public. So, any other questions on this part of the agenda? Oh, one more comment.
I just wanted to mention that I know Type 1 for outdoor power washing, if we're not using Type 1 from OSO, we can use that for power washing the bird dew up. So if we're not doing that, I'd suggest doing that. The other thing is might keep an open mind on some of the outlying communities that are our partners will have a more dire issue because they get water directly from the lakes that don't appear that they will be operating. And I don't know what the status on those communities drilling wells are, but I think we should keep in mind that we do, if we have classroom space that we're able to operate off of reclaimed water, we might be offering some of our partners space where, you know, there's not water where they are. So if they need to consolidate with us for part of this while they get water stood up, I think we should be prepared to offer that and think about how we could do that with some of our partners. And that's it.
I do have some additional information when we get to the last slide on next steps. I think we'll also fill in some of the gaps with some questions that you had too.
Okay. All right, next couple of slides on.
Okay, Ms. Landrum?
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. So as we're looking for ways to reduce our water usage, we're also considering any potential impact on our property tax levy, especially since that accounts for about 60% of our operating revenue. So taxable property is appraised as of January 1st, according to Texas Property Tax Code, Section 23.01. So if anything happens to a property after January 1st, it shouldn't affect the evaluations for that year. It's more of a trailing effect to where it would be considered in the next year. So it would affect that fiscal year 2028 property tax levy. So in determining the market value of property, the chief appraiser shall consider the cost, income, and market data comparison method, and they'll pick the one that fits best. Sometimes they have to use a combination of one or more of those methods because it's hard to obtain all the data for one single method. Once those valuations are certified and all of the taxing units have adopted their tax rates, then the tax bills are distributed October 1st or as soon as practical per tax code section 31.01A. Are there any questions on this slide before I move on? Okay, so on this slide, we have provided just some hypothetical scenarios. So with our current tax rate, the total taxable revenue from our top 6 contributors is about $10.7 million. If we saw a 10% reduction in that tax levy from those top 6 contributors, it would amount to a little over $1 million. For our fiscal year 2026, our total tax levy, which includes our operating and our debt service, is $101.9 million. If we saw a 10% reduction, then that would equal out to about $10.1 million. So as illustrated in this hypothetical scenarios, even a modest reduction in our collections can result in a meaningful revenue impact, emphasizing the importance of monitoring these risks as we plan for next year's budget. All right, any questions? Ms. McDonald will continue.
Any questions on that portion for Ms. Landrum? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Landrum. So our next steps. We're going to continue to further study additional water resources. And again, we're looking at every option. Everything's on the table right now. Part of what you were talking about, Chair Scott, of making sure we're looking at options and planning and what does it mean if we did have operational schedule changes. We have convened the incident management team. We'll meet on April the 20th, and we will have discussions and develop operational financial planning based on impact models. So it would be those scenarios of, you know, what if we did have to reduce water by this amount? Where can we? So it's like everything's on the table. If we did had to adjust schedules, where does it make sense? What areas, so that it does not affect instruction? So our incident management team is a team that we bring together to put together these plans and to be prepared. So all of those things that we were discussing, we will be discussing and breaking out into, I guess you could say, sub-teams within that group and working on all of these planning and preparedness options.
Thank you all. Dr. Escamilla, thank you and your team for putting together this analysis for us. It's a great first step, and for us to be having these conversations it's going to happen sooner than later. So I think we need to be moving quickly and implementing as they say, the stuff that's easy pickings, that's low-hanging fruit, and then the stuff that takes a little bit longer planning, but I think this is going to be on top of us sooner rather than later. Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next staff report is going to be on our Freedom to Dream program. Another great update.
Hello. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, Dr. Escamilla. This will be a report update on Freedom to Dream, and I think before we begin, Dr. Escamilla has some opening remarks.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Benavides-Dominguez. Regents and everyone in the room, today's update is an exciting update. And I want to put out some cautionary guardrails on the data. A little qualifier here to say this data is still ripening in many ways, but we could not hold back, and we wanted to come out and share with you what we know so far, because as indicators go, both leading and lagging, the data are showing that our Freedom to Dream cohort 1 especially is tracking very nicely. And progressing in some ways, in most ways, better than expected. We've learned a lot. As we move ahead through this presentation, we're going to reveal what we've learned and what we're learning. As soon as this morning, as late as this morning, the data was still ripening, if you will. And we're going to share with you everything that we have. That being said, know that we'll be coming back. Is that just my ear? Okay. Know that we'll be coming back for an opportunity on a regular basis to present the data as we move ahead in coming months. If it's every month that's necessary, we will. If it's every other month, we will, depending on where we feel that the state of the data is. That being said, I turn the microphone over to Dr. Patricia Benavides-Dominguez, Ali Khalidous, and Raul Garcia to present.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla, for your opening remarks. That sets the strategic context for the overview of this program. We will examine the outcomes. We will examine the outcomes from the first cohort through data-driven analysis and highlight key factors contributing to the program's success. Then Ali Khalidous will discuss the transition to the overview of the Enhanced Freedom to Dream 2.0 model, outlining proposed refinements and targeted adjustments for the second cohort. The session will conclude with Mr. Garcia providing a review of the financial considerations to support the program and future planning. This slide provides an overview of the Freedom to Dream requirements for Cohort 1. As you can see, the various student populations we are intending to pursue, the Freedom to Dream 1.0 program is designed to serve both traditional and non-traditional learners within the DMC taxing district by establishing clear eligibility, academic, and participation expectations. The program targets recent high school graduates as well as adult learners who are in their early post-secondary journey, ensuring participants demonstrate academic readiness and sustain enrollment. To support accountability and student success, participants are required to meet minimum performance standards, maintain consistent course progression, and formally commit to program expectations. Collectively, these requirements are structured to promote persistence, completion, and stewardship of program resources. Now to the good stuff. This slide highlights the student profile of the first cohort. The funnel on the left shows we are experiencing strong initial interest with over 5,000 applicants entering the pipeline and approximately 1/3 ultimately admitted, reflecting a selective yet access-oriented review process. The first cohort yielded a high rate of acceptant participants into the program. The cohort's composition demonstrates a broad reach of non-traditional learners, which represent roughly 45% of the enrollees, while high school seniors, both dual credit and non-dual credit, account for the remaining 55%, with the largest subgroup being non-dual credit seniors. Academic readiness data revealed that the majority, 58%, entered prepared for college-level coursework, while 42% required additional academic support, underscoring the program's dual role in both readiness and developmental education coursework. Collectively, the data suggests meaningful demand, strong enrollment conversion, and a cohort profile that balances inclusivity with preparedness as the program scales post-secondary access. Do I have any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
On the not readiness, was that a combination of seniors and the non-traditional students?
That's all students.
That's all students.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. This slide represents 3 student profiles. The bar graph on the left shows the number of students who enrolled with and without existing college credits. More than 60% entered with none. This confirms the program is reaching learners at the critical on-ramp stage where early support can significantly influence persistence and completion. The middle graphic highlights the transfer majors selected by Cohort 1. Nearly 60% of the participants are enrolled in transfer-oriented programs, indicating a strong aspiration towards bachelor's degree attainment. This concentration underscores the importance of proactive advising, academic planning, and transfer alignment as core success drivers. The graphic on the right outlines the cohort's financial aid profile. This is a new profile that we are highlighting today. In total, students received more than $3 million in Pell, other federal grants, state aid, loans, and scholarship. Overall, 60% of the Freedom to Dream participants received some form of financial aid and scholarship assistance. Approximately 40% did not receive financial aid. This gap highlights the opportunity to strengthen financial aid navigation and expand support to reduce cost-related attrition risk. Overall, the data reinforce the Freedom to Dream is successfully serving early-stage, high-aspiration students. As a team, we will continue to work on integrated academic, transfer, and financial support strategies as the program scales. Questions?
Not a question, but a comment for understanding. So I'm trying to remember previous conversations. What is the percentage of, we think, new students who would not have come to Del Mar anyway out of this first cohort? Out of the 1,600.
That's a speculative question that I don't think we have a number for, Madam Chair, as it's presented.
I was just trying to understand, of the 3.8 million, those were new revenue dollars that in some cases we would not have, those students would not have applied for those additional funds and grants without our Freedom to Dream to get them in the door, get them in the pipeline.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we're going to have to tease out through a qualitative type of survey or so forth to parse those out. What we do, what I think we have an answer for is the vast majority of those students would not be coming full-time for sure.
Right.
Even if those coming. So to tease them out would be a survey opportunity, and we will take that question down. I can see all the staff nodding and so forth, and everybody wants to know the answer to that too.
Well, And the 3.8 because it includes Pell Grants and some of our foundation scholarship money, those can be used for other things other than tuition and fees and books and those kinds of things. And so that 3.8 is not coming to us. I understand that, but I was just trying to understand if there is additional revenue that when we started the model we weren't anticipating or we weren't calculating at that point.
So the peripheral cost of living expenses is the best way. I will take that question also and parse that out and see if we can figure that out. Joseph, do you have any thoughts, any ideas based on the cost of living? Am I right? It's the cost of living primarily is where those dollars are going, the $3.8 million that we're deriving here, that column on the left. Joseph?
Yes, sir. More than likely, for the neediest students, I think the average refund is their tuition is being waived by Freedom to Dream, and they're taking home about $5,800 in money for living expenses. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, the cost of a full-time experience is where it's...
Textbook costs as well, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. I just wanted to understand that 3.8 and
where it's going.
And how it's being used. I think it's, again, we knew that in the narrative form, but I think this is the first time I've seen the dollars associated with the narrative about using the Pell Grants and other scholarships and other things for their living expenses and other expenses they might have.
More surveying of those students, as we've already begun conducting, and we can take deeper dives with finer tuned questions. Regents, if I may direct your attention to that left column. This is a big factor that we've talked about. This was an assumption that we will be working on with the next cohort. The number of students that came with no semester credit hours was much greater on one hand. We were off with our estimations and our assumptions on one hand, particularly as it relates to the adult learners. But also the students coming from high school, not necessarily dual credit, because the bucket of students coming from high school is both dual credit and non-dual credit. But the non-dual credit, Dr. Turner, is really surprising, and therein lies our opportunities. Now, where we underestimated was the amount of hours. For the dual credit students that were college ready and matriculating to the college, we said, they're going to have our estimations and our assumptions on the model was about 15 hours. Well, guess what? Those dual credit students matriculating here are coming with 30 plus hours. So another little pot of gold and another little opportunity there, again, to adjust our strategies as we move ahead. That was an assumption. That's what original research brings, is original data, and that's what this is right here.
I just had a comment. And for those seniors that are coming in without any college, that is because of your outreach programs. And all the people that mentor and go to the high schools and to the middle schools, and you're selling Del Mar on their positives, not just saving money, but all the programs and opportunities they have here. And the kids are hungry for that. They know high school is just not enough, and it's expensive to go to university. So thank you for your team, and it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Ali.
I've got a couple of things. Okay. One thing I think that really caught my eye is the non-traditional. We don't have anybody at 25 to 36 or 37 and up because we don't allow those folks to sign up. And so if you have more than 12 hours or 15 hours, we do not, on a non-traditional, if it's not a dual credit transfer, if you've taken more than a semester, we do not allow you to access this program. And I remember when we started it, the concern was if we allowed that, then a huge batch of our existing students were going to shift over, and we didn't know how to account for that, and we were not in a financial position to cover that. So I want to suggest that for 3, that we look at if you have been out of college and you want to finish for X number of years, then you can sign up and be part of this program in order to induce people back, because those dual credit seniors with 37 plus hours, they're a huge moneymaker for us because we get paid by the completion, not by how many hours we teach. So the closer they are to completion, the more, the more profitable it is for us to teach them. So I understand why we were there in this tranche, because we didn't want, half of our part-time students to suddenly go full-time, and, we just didn't have the capability to fund that. But one of the things that turned out not being true, to kind of Carol's question or point, was we thought our number of part-time students was going to drop when we did this, and that didn't happen. They kept going up. So it's not clear that we have a huge number of students that would have come to the college anyway. I'm sure the people who would normally sign up every year full-time, fresh out of high school, signed up for Freedom to Dream, but we did not have a big shift from our existing part-time population to full-time. And so I'd really like us to look at that.
Duly noted.
The other thing is, I think the non-dual credit seniors, and I think we talked about this before, that shows that we still have room to grow dual credit. And that's important. And I know you all have been working on things like that, but 628, that's people who should have been in dual credit classes their senior and junior year of high school at least. So, no, thank you. This is great information.
Regent Loeb, if I may, just on that particular piece, on those coming over, that was a big surprise to me as well. And the opportunity, by broadening their opportunities throughout the curriculum and those options, will be a key factor. In other words, the more options those students have earlier on, I think we'll find some pretty good success with that particular group.
Okay. Allie?
Good afternoon, Regents. So I'll share a little bit with you about some of the strategies, and you've seen this information before, but a little bit about what's different with Cohort 2, or what's improved for Cohort 2, particularly the change to incoming students needing to be college or program ready. And so we want to make sure that if these students come into their programs, that they have the tools that they're going to need to be successful. And so whether that's being TSI complete, or having been REM evaluated, or exploring alternative pathways for them for their educational journey, we're more intentional about providing that. And then we're also introducing summer camps and other mechanisms to help get them ready prior to their first semester of school. So we think that's going to have a large impact on those folks coming in. We have upgraded a lot of our systems to provide staff better tools to assist these students as they're coming in, whether it's caseload advising systems, utilizing the CRM more effectively for segmented and targeted messaging, and then better and stronger collaboration with communities and schools who are out there advocating for Del Mar College for these students and letting them know about the Freedom to Dream program. And then questions that this group has asked that we take back and try to workshop and figure out how we can apply that to continue improving the program. So lots of different things happening in the background. And I want to make sure that we mention the additional continuing education options that are out there, 6 ICLCs and 6 WSAs, those institutional credits and workforce skills awards. Those are going to provide additional options for those students. And now to the fun stuff, more data. So this is preliminary information. This is from the incoming cohort applications for Cohort 2. And the enrollment funnel on the left, you can see that it's shaping up nicely. And I actually took the liberty of running fresh numbers this morning just to see where we were at. So we're actually at 2,966 applications that have been submitted, as opposed to that 2,650 there, with 1,111 provisionally approved. So those numbers are moving up fairly quickly, and this is a 3, maybe 4-day difference from when we put this presentation together and submitted it to today. So that funnel is growing quickly, which is great to see. When we look at the population categories, you'll notice that it mirrors what cohort 1 was looking at in terms of those groups coming in. So dual credit seniors, non-dual credit seniors, and a non-traditional population. The non-dual credit seniors are making up, as of right now, the bulk of the incoming provisional approved students. And then the college readiness portion, it's a little early to tell what the breakdown is because a lot of those students have yet to be evaluated. They may be first-time applicants, so they'll need to go through that process. I do want to recognize a few folks who have been working on getting this data together and processing these students. Gracie Martinez's team and Stephanie in admissions, Ralph Goonan in college relations that oversees the CRM, Stephen Maddox on my team that does the data processing. These folks are working quietly in the background to provide us the data that we can use to generate these insights. And so we're really happy to have them on board. So thank you to that group for what they've been doing. Yes, ma'am.
On those and the 834 people, is that due to their address? Most of them for not meeting requirements, is that the bulk of it? Is
yes, ma'am. It could be residency. It could be they exceeded the number of hours. Yeah, there's a couple of different criteria. And we can bring a breakdown next time if we'd like to. Yeah.
Also doesn't mean that we forget about those individuals.
Absolutely.
We go after them readily. So just for anybody else to know, if there's an opportunity, if there's someone listening and or maybe writing a story about this, we want everybody to know that, that those that may even think that they don't qualify, first of all, let us determine that, and then let us help you through, because there are still many, many golden opportunities for you. Just give us a chance. And so just a little commercial there. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next slide. So similar views to what you saw with cohort 1, the students with their incoming semester credit hour pools, again, fairly closely resembles what the initial cohort looked like. So if we look at those populations and those buckets of hours that they're coming in with, on the non-dual credit seniors and the non-traditional, we're seeing a lot of folks applying and provisionally approved with no credit hours under their belt, no completed credit hours under their belt. And then when we look at 1 to 11, 12 to 24, and work our way down, getting closer to credential attainment, we still have some folks in those categories, but by far we're looking at students that it's their initial college experience, and fortunately that's where we're set up to help and get through the pipeline. Transfer versus non-transfer programs, percentage-wise, is shaping up to look like, again, the initial cohort. So we've got about 540 students in transfer and about 322 in non-transfer. And then you can see the breakdown on the far right of the high demand versus non-high demand degrees. And those numbers are looking very good as well. I do want to emphasize again, this is preliminary. We expect this to grow fairly significantly, hopefully exceed cohort 1's applications and provisional approvals, and we'd love to bring that back for you next time. But any questions on these particular metrics? Very good. I'll hand it over to Mr. Garcia.
So good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. President, members of the board. I want to start off with this slide summarizes the first year's financial results of the Freedom to Dream pilot through the end of March of 2026. As discussed in prior board meetings, the first year of the pilot was expected to operate at a financial loss as students progress towards performance-funded outcomes. Accordingly, the focus is on key factors shaping the year one results for the initial cohort, including the timing of revenue recognition tied to performance outcomes and how the actual student profile and persistence differed from the original forecast. Starting with the funding sources, the reported $1.7 million, which is the top section of the financial statements, towards the right, which says variance. $1.7 million variance is attributed to three factors. First, a portion of the performance funding anticipated in year one has not yet been recognized. Performance associated with the summer credential completions will be reported once the summer term concludes and outcomes are known. Second, performance funding related to the general academic institution transfer outcome has not yet been recognized and will be validated and reported later in the fall through the coordinating board reporting process. The third item is differences in the student profile relative to the original forecast have contributed to the variance by shifting some of the expected performance funding from year 1 into year 2 of the pilot. The original financial model assumed students would enter with approximately 15 semester credential hours. In practice, more students entered before being program ready and with fewer or no prior credits, extending the time required to reach performance funding outcomes. Again, that would be in year 2. Importantly, this cohort persists well above both institutional trends and the original forecast. Overall, fall-to-fall persistence from the fall 2024 to fall 2025 is approximately 52% for full-time and part-time students. In contrast, the first Freedom to Dream cohort is trending at 82% persistence rate for full-time students. This exceeds the modeled assumption, originally at 75%. This level of persistence supports the stronger completion activity and associated performance funding in year 2. Again, we're just shifting years. Turning to the costs, which is the middle section of this presentation.
Mr. Garcia, before you move on, let's talk a little bit more about that shift and about the shift and what's caused, because the assumptions we were putting out there, such as the ones where students were coming in with far less credit hours and so forth, really is a time issue and or a credit hour issue, depending which way you want to look at it. In other words, the model that we put out there was really for 3 years and so forth for this first group. But the fact that the students are coming in with less than anticipated number of matriculating hours, talk about how that model has shifted a little bit more. Let's restate that because it's not, it's an adjustment that we're making in some ways, and then still experiencing some early wins with some completions on another category of students and another. But let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the originally thought process with the pilot is that the students would come in with more credits, 15 being the average. So that would mean that I was very hopeful that those students, and it still will happen for those particular students who have 15 or more, that they would be completing in year 1 as well as year 2. Again, the goal is to have more of these students come in with more credit hours. That's the goal. Mr. Loeb, I think you touched on that very well. Thank you. And so that was the vision. But as the numbers show, I think Patricia showed that we had a larger number of students with 0 hours. Doesn't mean that we're not going to get our money. We're still going to get our money within that 3-year horizon. It's just going to take us a little bit longer. It's going to take these students about 2 more semesters to complete. That's all it is. It's just a shifting of dollars from one year to the next.
And again, still within the parameters of what we originally set out.
Yeah.
Again, for cohort 1. Cohort 2 is we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Cohort 2 is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and I'm confident that that's going to happen because right now, our persistence rate is at 82%. My model was at 75%. So we're exceeding my original theory or thought process at the time.
Again,
so I know they're going to complete in year 2.
Defining persistence as moving from one semester, completing from one semester to the next, and moving through. Again, at a rate that exceeds our original forecast and model.
Yeah. And I think, Mr. Loeb?
Well, I was just, I want to go down to costs. I mean, my recollection is we put some money in adding some staff, and but we didn't add. I mean, the cost on associate's degree and credential value. That's not money we actually lost because tuition didn't go down. That's tuition revenue that didn't get paid.
That is correct. The net effect was net neutral. We were going to, in our system, calculate the revenue, but then it was going to come off as a waiver.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that seems more of like an accounting number rather than a real number. We didn't go out and spend $4 million on things that didn't get paid, you know what I mean?
Yes, correct. Those
Right.
are costs.
It's not
that were
really our
already set.
cash, right?
And I mean, we have to assume that they would have come anyway, and given our enrollment bump, I don't think anybody can say that with a straight face. I mean, some of them would have come, but not, we wouldn't have doubled the number of full-time students we have just because people felt like going to college full-time. So yeah, I mean, but I think that's a great explanation of what happened is we got those dual credit students that we thought we were going to get. We just got 1,000 other students.
That's right.
We weren't expecting.
The profile changed, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. I also want to point out, I did receive information for the fall 2024 using the fall 2024 cohort, and we tracked those students into the fall 2025, right? And we've determined that, and that's a full-time, part-time number, that 52% of the students' persistence. So again, I feel very confident that it's just a shift in the numbers when we're going to earn in year second, starting in year second, number 2. Any other questions so far? All right. So turning to costs, total expenditures for the period are approximately 69, I'm sorry if I look at this correctly. Yeah, so turning to costs, total expenditures for the period are above what was forecast, and reflecting higher instructional salary and benefit costs in programs operating near capacity. These increases were largely offset by lower than expected tuition waiver expenses and remain consistent with delivering the pilot as it intended to scale. So in closing, the first year's financial results relative to the forecast is driven by timing, performance recognition, and student cohort characteristics that shift a portion of the expended funding into year 2. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. I just had a comment, if that's okay. I think that some of the numbers you were talking about in I'm going to say, what you anticipated related to how soon they could graduate, or how soon we get our money and then be pushed out. I think that particular, I'm going to say, trend could be reversed. I think with the work that's being done in the community and schools, and I think also in the expansion of the dual credit program, I think we could easily start to move toward the numbers that you originally projected in time to graduation, right? And I think that needs to be part of the message that we put out, is that we think that we can get those students to graduate if they participate in the dual credit program in bigger numbers. And the dual credit, I would say, clientele or potential students enroll in Del Mar's Freedom of Dream program and go on to graduate. I also think that one of the other, I think in the big picture, as we move forward and we encourage, and when you're asked by maybe some of the future Freedom to Dream students what they can do for the college, because they graduate, they're happy with their accomplishments, they're going forward. I think one of the things is talk to your brothers and sisters, talk to your cousins, talk to your friends, ask them to enroll in the dual credit program. Go on and sign on with the communities and schools to figure out what it's going to take to get there. I think if all these things work together, I think we can get a lot closer to the numbers long-term than we're at right now.
There's a lot of lessons learned. I think our president has already taken steps to move in that direction. That's the beauty about this model and us analyzing the data, because we're learning and our president is proactive in addressing what you pointed out.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I'd just like to say, Regent Garza, there's many more things to come, and there's two significant pieces that are going to complement the rest of this puzzle as we move ahead, as it relates to the K through 12 experience that you're talking about directly, as well as the experience when they get here at a even more elevated level and opportunity, and perhaps an academy type of scenario. So we're working on those as we speak, and we can't wait to bring those to you, but all I can do is tantalize your thoughts with them at this point, because they're still literally on the drawing board. So we are definitely taking this beyond where we are today. We still have more slides to go. That's it. Let me just, if I may, Madam Chair, there's a couple of points that I hope I can evoke maybe some more thoughts when you leave today, and a data point that we just received this morning as we're pulling things together in preparation for the meeting was persistence of overall students for the fall 24 year, okay, was, given the ratios of full-time and part-time students being what they were, we were probably at the 80% part-time status, was 52% overall, okay? If you segment or control for the Freedom to Dream cohort in 2025, the 82% number is what we're talking about for that full-time status. That's what full-time status does. And so how do we get around those students and get them to completing their goals, their educational goals, as quickly as possible is the key. We are on to something that is based in the philosophy. The other thing too, 90 plus students will be completing our shorter term certificates, albeit primarily our OSAs.
Yes, sir.
This year. And already it's like the kindling to the fire. It's the stuff that really gets burning very quickly. 90 plus students will yield already this year a little over $300,000 in return for the investment, Regent Loeb, that you're talking about, that we're making. And so that's already starting. Those are those quick, short-term opportunities for students. And we know that we give it another semester, that that's going to be like putting the bigger, heavier logs on the fire, if you will, and the opportunity for completions are going to come readily, and that's what Mr. Garcia is talking about today. Another point is the whoa versus no mentality. Dr. Patricia loves all the terms that I throw out there and just kind of make up, right? But it's telling those students that are coming into that second cohort that we are going to care for you if you allow us to put our arms around you, and while you come to this school in a full-time scenario, we are going to help you succeed, because we want you to succeed even more than you do, believe it or not, in the full-time capacity. But we want you to take it easy and not incur debt and not incur losing time or anything else. And so we're going to treat those students who are not fully college ready, and we're going to explain this more in coming meetings, but they're not fully college and or program ready in a whoa fashion. We're going to slow you down. We're going to work with you. We're going to give you every opportunity with the most affordable way possible, probably very close to no cost to them because of Pell opportunities and other things. Right, Joseph? And so as such, that treatment is what our biggest lesson was from cohort 1 on this particular group, because we know they're still coming. That being said, one final commercial on those students. What we found out about our students who are coming forth with heavy needs for remediation and developmental ed, Regents, guess what? They're persisting at, even when you segment and control for them for the college ready, they're persisting at even higher percentage rates than our college ready students. They've got the heart and soul, they've got it, and they're with them. We cannot give up on them. And I applaud this board for bringing those students to this population, to this program, and allowing them to come in. That is the work we're doing here, and that's who we're serving. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Garcia, you don't have to answer the question today, but I want to compare the real time. I was looking at our income and expense statement, which we'll approve later on in consent agenda, but for the month ending February of 26 would include all the tuition from the spring semester. Correct?
For the fall and the spring, yes.
Fall and spring.
Yes, ma'am.
And so our tuition and fees are tracking within 3 or 4 percentage points what they were last year. So we haven't lost significant revenue in that, just looking at the real-time P&L. So it's a little bit lower, but not significantly lower.
Not significant, right.
Right. So I think that there's some real-time information that needs to be included versus just that cost number that Mr. Loeb talked about earlier, because it's a lost revenue, but would those students have come and paid that tuition if it weren't for this program and weren't going full? So there's a way I think we need to talk about this that appropriately captures
the incremental cost?
The incremental cost or the real time of what's happening.
Okay.
All right.
Duly noted.
Any other comments? Thank you all. Keep it up. We obviously want to dig in and understand this program, as we've said before. So we apologize for all the questions, but we want to dig in and understand.
Don't please, Madam Chair, no apologies necessary. We love doing this too, and we love presenting to you all.
All right, we're going to ask Jessica Alanis Pettis to come up and give us an update on our TERS task force and its work.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Dr. Escamilla, and the board. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the work that the TERS task force has been doing over this last month. The TERS task force met towards the end of March, and we have been reviewing some suggested policy drafts of the current Del Mar Policy B4.37. The start of the review of this policy is to review it against the Texas Tax Code Chapter 311 to ensure that we are still in compliance with the requirements of that tax code. Happy to say that we are in good shape. And so looking at and comparing both documents together, we saw some need for additional sections to help provide some clarity to any other entities that would like to approach the college for participation in any kind of TERS projects. Adding sections such as board representation and what the expectation of the district is. Also some language regarding project plan approval and any kind of amendments made to project plans during the course of the TERS. One of the suggestions from Regent Loeb during this task force meeting was also to include some language about the college being involved very early on with the details of the project plan so that we can have input and ensure that it aligns with the college's mission for our participation as well. Adding sections also to clarify annual reporting expectations from financial and project reporting so that the district remains up to date on how the TERS is proceeding along during our participation periods, and then also including some language about termination and withdrawal should the college choose to do so if the TERS is not complying or proceeding in the way we've agreed, items like that. So we've added some sections in that, and also to make sure that our current policy is aligned with our tax abatement policy. Sometimes those can kind of overlap a little bit to make sure that we're not duplicating any efforts for TERS participation with our tax abatement policy as well. So that's the start. We're still in draft mode of our policy sections. We still have a little bit more work to do. We'll meet later on this month and hopefully move towards finalizing some of this language with legal counsel and review to make sure we continue to stay in compliance with the Texas Tax Code on our TERS participation. So I know we have several of the regents on this task force, and if you have any input, you're more than welcome. Okay, so that's where we stand to date, and we'll bring another update to you next month.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, moving on to our pending business list. Upcoming in our May meeting, we'll have our strategic enrollment management report as well as a spring enrollment update. And then in June, another Freedom to Dream update, professional contract review, a policy review, and information on our SACS TOC site visit planning and our interim report. Ooh, we're so excited. All right. And then, as is our typical plan, we plan on not having a regular July meeting, but we will meet in late July for our budget. All right. Well, any questions on pending items? Moving on to our consent agenda, we have 3 items under our consent agenda: approval of minutes, quarterly investment, and quarterly financial report. Is there any item that needs to be removed for separate consideration? Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loeb, second by Mr. Krul. Is there any public comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right, our regular agenda item number 4, we're going to have discussion and possible action related to the authorization of some refunding of our bonds. Mr. Garcia, Mr. Gordon is here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the college has received the results of bond refunding analysis prepared by Mr. Dave Gordon of Estrada Hinojosa. Based on current market conditions, the analysis indicates that a refund opportunity may be available that could generate meaningful savings for the college. Consistent with the refunding process previously authorized by the board back in 2021, administration is requesting that the board consider a resolution authorizing the issuance of limited tax refunding bonds. The proposed resolution would delegate authority to the president or the vice president or the chief financial officer to approve the final terms of the transaction, provided that the refunding meets the board's established parameters, including minimum savings threshold, no extensions of final maturities, and no increases to the college's tax rate. Dave Gordon will walk the board through the refunding analysis and underlying assumptions in greater detail. Following the presentation, the board will be asked to consider an action item authorizing the refunding and delegation approval of the final terms consistent with the established parameters. If the college is successful in completing the transaction with those parameters, administration will report back to the board with the final terms and results of the refunding at the June board meeting. At this time, Dave Gordon from Estrada Hinojosa is going to be presenting.
Thank you, Raul. Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Again, Dave Gordon with Estrada Hinojosa. We're a financial advisor to the college. Also here with Jay Juarez, who's with McCall Parkers and Horton, your bond counsel over here in the audience. So real briefly on the market, as you may be aware, we're in a little bit of a period of time of adjustment here to the war that started in Iran back on February 28th. We've seen a little bit of an increase since then in terms of where rates are, and your guess is probably as good as mine exactly where this turns out, but hopefully by the time we go to price the obligations, things have adjusted back to normal. But you can see on this screen, which illustrates basically kind of a long-term snapshot of where rates are. We certainly are not in the environment that we were back in 2020 and 21. Rates have gone up considerably since then. Having said that, there still is an opportunity to refinance this debt, as Raul just mentioned, at attractive rates. If you look back again, back to February, when the war started, rates were considerably lower. We had we've lost about 50 basis points in the short and intermediate portion of the curve, and about 25 basis points on the long end. That's been kind of adjusting day by day here. We gained back a few basis points today when the markets closed. So again, hopefully things will kind of right size back to kind of a more normal environment here in the next couple of weeks. But finally, if we just look back at MMD history since 2000, this gives you an illustration of where rates are for each individual maturity from 1 to 30. You can see that the diamonds in the middle, that's kind of the average since that period of time, and then the square boxes are actually the opposite. The diamonds in the middle are where we currently are, and the square boxes in the middle are the average. So we're just above average since 2000 on each of these maturities. We've actually right-sized since we had the kind of inverted yield curve a couple of years, or about a year ago or so, where the front end was higher, and again, now we're back to much more of a normal yield curve. So when we look at the college's debt, the college has about $235 million of outstanding obligations that are supported by your debt service tax. As a reminder, the college has two different taxes: your M&O, or your maintenance and operation tax, which funds operations. And then you have, for your voted debt, you have an interest and sinking fund or debt service tax that funds those. Again, that's a separate tax than the operating tax. $235 million, as I mentioned, in outstanding obligations supported by this tax, of which about $220 million is callable. About $130 million of that actually is callable by August 15th of this year, which is principally what we're talking about. The college does have 3 outstanding ratings. Your AA from both S&P and Fitch, and AA2 from Moody's. That's an equivalent to a AA. Those are outstanding investment-grade credit ratings, which indicate that the college is doing everything that you can in terms of supporting that rating. So you guys should be very proud of that rating. When we look at the debt profile for the college, you can see that there's a fairly sizable drop in your debt service next year. Then it's pretty level out through 2045 where it drops off, and the final maturity is in 2048. And again, when you just look by series, you can see how that's all laid out. When we look at a refinancing, most tax-exempt debt in that's issued in the public bond markets is issued with what's called a 10-year par call. So if you issue debt in 2016, for example, you're most likely going to have a period of time where you can call that debt at par or at its face value 10 years later. It may be between 9.5 and 10.5 years, just depending upon how that cycle works. But you can see a lot of your debt, again, is callable in 2026 or earlier. There's one series that was callable in 25. And then you can see how the rest of that debt, all of it's callable by 2029. When you look at a refinancing, however, you're looking at a number of different components. One is you're looking at, obviously what prevailing rates are at the time and whether those make sense to refinance. But you're also looking at the coupon on the bonds that are outstanding. So the higher the coupon, the more attractive it is to refinance, the more option value there is, and the lower the coupon, the less likely that you can actually call that economically. So we have a decent amount of obligations that are callable that have a 5% coupon, which are generally speaking in the money. And some of those also have a 4% coupon, which is also in the money, and then the ones that are lower than 4%, unless we get a rally in rates and interest rates drop significantly, those are probably not economically callable in the current market. The colleges also have a small amount of revenue bonds still outstanding, about $5.3 million. And you can see 3.6 million of that is callable. It's only 3 maturities left, so on a standalone basis, it's not going to work to call this debt just because the cost of issuance will make it prohibitive. So in terms of this refinancing, again, there are 4 series of obligations that we're looking at refinancing. The 2015s, and this is a portion of the obligations for those maturities or those series, because again, some of those have 3% coupons, which are not in the money. So about 2.8 million from the 15 bonds, about 22 million from the 16 bonds. These are the 2018 A bonds, which have about 38 million, and then a portion of the 2018 B bonds, which also have about 28 million. So a total of around 91 million are currently in the money. Again, the resolution actually, you'd be authorizing up to 129 million. Because there are some maturities in these series of bonds which are not currently in the money, but could be if we got a big rally in rates between now and the time that we actually sold the obligations. So this is the approximate savings that we would get. We did prepare this presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I went back and looked to see we've lost a little bit of ground more since then. Where this is showing about 7.5% savings right now, we're at about 6.5% savings. Obviously, things, again, changed pretty quickly over the last month or so and could easily go back in the other direction. But in general, when these obligations are callable, you're going to want to call them. Otherwise, the opportunity is just kind of a waiting opportunity that you continue to pay off the obligations at the higher rate. So this produces right now, in this illustration, about a little over $12 million. Under the current rate environment, that would be more like $11 million. So the structure of the proposed refinancing, again, it would produce, let's call it $11 million worth of savings. In working with your staff, the discussion has been to structure the debt so we set the tax rate on the INS tax next year equal to approximately the same rate as you have this current year, which is about 5.5 cents. This would give you some opportunities to look at future possibilities with various planning that the college is doing. And so you can see on the far right-hand side, that's what we've done here. We've structured that to be approximately 5.5 cents. We'll never get exactly on that number, partly because the obligations are priced in $5,000 bond increments, but also just in terms of the final timing. So there could be a small contribution that the college makes out of the INS fund to get it to the exact tax rate that you want it to be. With regard to the team, again, we're a financial advisor. McCall, Parkinson, Horton is bond counsel. We did work with a number of your prior underwriters and those who have been proposing various ideas and paying attention to the college, and then worked with your staff and have selected these underwriters, Jeffries, Baird, Cabrera, Frost, and RBC, to be the underwriting syndicate, with Escamilla and Ponick as the underwriters counsel, and then you use Bank of New York Mellon as your paying agent and escrow agent. So if the board decides to move forward with this today, what you'd be doing is you'd be authorizing a parameters resolution that, as Roel mentioned, would allow staff and advisors to complete the sale based on a minimum of 3% savings. Again, right now we're more like 6.5% savings or so. No extension of the final maturity, which is an 8/15 of 2048. And the three people that would be delegated as pricing officers would be Ms. Scott, board chair, Dr. Escamilla, and Roel as the CFO. So we would work on what's called an offering document, which is the preliminary official statement, work to have your ratings reviewed, work with the underwriters to do a due diligence call, and then based on the current schedule, we expect to actually go through a pricing with the underwriters on June 3rd. On that date, you would know the final rates and also the final savings, and then we would close the transaction on or around July 1st. So that's a high-level discussion of what we're trying to accomplish. Again, it would be a resolution to allow staff and advisors to complete the sale. If things went just crazy, erratic, whatever, we could certainly adjust this schedule, but ideally we would price these obligations before you set your tax rate going into FY27. Any questions?
I have a question on the ratings. Sometimes when you're in a family, one of your siblings has a poor reputation, and do you see any possibility of us being judged by a family member's behavior in going into rating agencies right now?
Well, I'm not sure where exactly to go with this. Is this live?
The city's bond rating was downgraded. Do you see that might affect our bond ratings and therefore our capability to accomplish this?
So when the rating agencies look at your particular situation, they are going to grade you on a number of factors. They all have published rating criteria or methodologies that they have to make the public aware of. So they would look at obviously your willingness and your ability to pay. Your tax rate, your total tax rate is around, let's call it 27 cents, about 5 cents is for your debt service tax. That's significantly below the maximum allowable tax rate. Your collections rates are fairly high. I want to say in the 92, 95% range, somewhere in there, which indicates that taxpayers obviously have been paying their tax bills. Again, you have very high investment grade credit ratings. I do not believe that that's going to spill over. Anything that they're doing is going to spill over on you. But when the ratings are assigned, the credit analysts will go and present to the rating committee their findings, and the committee will assign the rating. And that's a little bit of a black box because they go and they put on their capes and their cloaks and they go into their dark room and assign those ratings. But I expect that. And some of these ratings have been reviewed over the last couple of years, even though you guys haven't issued debt in the public bond markets for quite some time now. I don't expect really to see a rating change based on what I know about the transaction, the fact that you're saving money and things of that nature.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? A question regarding the timing. I thought I heard earlier that you would bring it back to the board for final approval, or is this the final? This is our action
This
to
would be the
authorize?
final, and obviously, we're not going to do this in isolation, and this is a very common methodology, and particularly for refinancings. You guys have done this both for refinancings and for your new money. It allows us ultimate flexibility, not have to work around a board meeting, which, as you know, you only meet once a month. So for the college and entities that work once a month or meet once a month, it is definitely beneficial. But no, we would not come back. We would report the findings, but of course, we'd be in close consultation with Raul and Kathy and others in the finance department, as well as you all. And again, Ms. Scott, you would be one of the authorities that could sign, as well as Dr. Escamilla or Mr. Garcia.
All right, there's a several-page resolution in our board packet, and on page 110, there is the resolution authorizing Mr. General Counsel. Is that what we are approving, that short paragraph versus reading the entire resolution, correct?
Yeah, there's Jay Morris with McCall, Parkers, and Horton.
Right. I'll be very brief. Dave Waters for the record. I'm an attorney with McCall, Parkers, and Horton. Dave handled the legal, the finance side. I handle the legal side. But to answer your question, you don't have to read the whole resolution. It's just the caption.
Great. So the caption that we're looking for the board to authorize is a resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $129,680,000 in principal amount of Del Mar College District Limited Tax Refunding Bonds Series 2026, approving and authorizing the execution of an escrow account, a paying agent registrar agreement, a purchase contract, and other instruments and procedures related thereto, delegating authority to certain district officials, and to select outstanding bonds to be refunded and approve all final terms of the bonds, approving an official statement and calling certain bonds for redemption. Is that correct?
Correct. Second.
We had a motion by Regent Loeb, a second by Dr. Babbely. Is there any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is discussion and action regarding our internal audit activity. Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. For the board review and acceptance, the internal audit information will be presented today by Daniel Graves, a partner with Weaver. I did want to point out that the Board of Regents Audit Committee did meet on March the 26th, and Dan Graves and Afton Bowie were present. They were from Weaver, and they reported to the committee internal audit activities that included FY26 internal audit plan status, audit report for maintenance, status of audits for institutional research and reporting, Senate Bill 17 compliance, grant compliance, and follow-up audits for Bursar's office and accounts payable disbursements. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Dan.
Good afternoon. As Tammy said, I'll have our status really starting with our maintenance report. So we have finished our maintenance report. I believe that was included in your packet. I'll discuss some of the highlights from it, from the audit committee meeting, as well as give you the status report on the remainder of our internal audit work for the year. So our internal audit over maintenance, just to recap on what that included, this audit included the design and effectiveness of the maintenance processes, focusing on facilities maintenance, grounds maintenance, construction and repairs, and really where they all intersect as part of a capital projects plan and maintenance management. We had three objectives. The first objective really centered around the completion of annual maintenance and deferred maintenance efforts. The second one around unscheduled maintenance, and the third around integrating decisions around budget for maintenance and deferred maintenance costs. We completed that. We issued the report on March 20th. We do have 4 findings that we risk rated all as moderate. The first finding is really about formalizing processes throughout the maintenance process, formalizing everything from budget development and then monitoring performance. Right now, there's just a lot of informal procedures. I'm not saying that the work's not getting done, it's just the way it's documented and completed out through your various systems. needs to be more standardized so that it can be used later on in the whole budgeting and maintenance cycle. Finding 2 really centers around funding. It's not a secret. I know you've talked about it as a board for a while. We talked about it quite a bit with the audit committee, but really looking at the long-term strategy to fund and address, coming up with that long-term way we're going to address the deferred maintenance schedule that would help us prevent increasing costs over time. Finding 3 is a detailed finding around how we finish out the documentation around unscheduled work. So we have routine maintenance, we have unscheduled maintenance, and we have deferred maintenance. This really is about the unscheduled, the break fix, and how the department uses the tracking tools and systems to document the way they've completed those so that we know we're addressing those break fix items in a timely manner. And then finding 4 is about integrating and having an integrated approach by taking what we know we're going to do from a planned maintenance schedule, what we've used from our historical deferred or our historical unplanned maintenance and deferred maintenance, and building that into a formalized plan to address all 3 of those, whether that includes construction to address deferred maintenance and remove it, as well as capital improvements and an overall strategic plan, integrating all of those. So I know we had quite a healthy discussion at the audit committee, but I'll pause for any questions about this report in particular.
I think it would be helpful to understand from a management response, just kind of an overview of what your thoughts are and how we're going to address this going forward.
So in the meeting, when this was disclosed, it wasn't a great surprise, and because our practice had heretofore been, building a plant fund after the fact, and building in conjunction with building, relatively speaking, a modest amount of funds towards applied towards our operating budgets so that we can deal with the smaller programs. And in discussion in the meeting with Weaver and the team and the audit committee, it was, and then there was also the backdrop of this massive undertaking of well over 300 million in construction going on at the same time. So it was a scenario that was set, that is just recently finished, recently completed, that was keeping us extremely busy trying to stay up with the contracts and so forth, and as a result, it left a gap of opportunity for us to improve after we've completed the big construction, if you will. That being said, Madam Chair and Regents, our expectation is that we're, with the findings of this, that again, as this audit is self-imposed, what we going to do is take this information, put together a plan for financing that will also open up other discussions of needs that will go beyond what I think will fill this gap in terms of just budgeting from year to year and building a maintenance budget, if you will. It's beyond what we have. That's the gist of it right now, Madam Chair, and we're taking this very seriously, already meeting on this, and I suspect that by before the end of summer, for sure, we can have a plan brought back to you for consideration as we prepare the 26-27 budget cycle.
Thank you. Any other questions on this portion?
All right. Well, I do want to conclude my remarks on this by saying, we do have 3 ratings that we give it overall to the report. We have strong, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory. And this received a satisfactory rating. So while we have 4 findings, I don't want to leave with the picture that it's a completely broken process, because it's not. There's quite a bit in the report that we don't cover in our meetings that were tested well and had positive outcomes. So I do want to leave with that. Our next audit that we're in the process of currently is our reporting and data validation. And so the scope of this audit, we're in the middle of it. It really is about how data becomes information and what the college does to validate that data before it ends up in a report really centered around a lot of the student reporting functions, not necessarily financial or there's other auditors that bother role to take care of that, but this is really about internal management reporting and how we use the data that we have, turn it into information for reports, and the quality the college puts around how those reports are generated. And so we're in the process of that. We've got two objectives about the design of the process and how the controls are and the quality control procedures are put in place. And then we will test the accuracy and the completion of those tasks to validate some of the completeness and accuracy of the reporting. We are, like I said, in the middle of that. We've completed most of Objective A, and we're going through some validation procedures through that, and then we will continue with our testing through this month. And so that's the status for our data validation. We do have 3 other items that we're working on. We do have our Senate Bill 17 compliance report. As a reminder, we did a SB 17 report last year with the General Counsel. We're continuing to update that, expanding and refining our procedures based on new guidance from the State Auditor's Office. We'll update and provide another report this year for that. Grant compliance, we will begin those procedures. We'll begin planning this month and field work in May. As a reminder, we've audited that before in years past, and so this is another dive into and some detailed testing over grant compliance. And then we have 2 reports that we have open internal audit findings from years past. That's bursars and accounts payable and disbursements. We have already started the planning and started confirmation procedures with those, and we anticipate that field work will be complete in May. So those are the status of the remaining pieces. There's one last thing is our annual internal audit report, but that guidance will come out in August, and that's due in November. So we've got plenty of runway for that one. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Graves. Thorough as usual. Any other additional questions for Dan?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a comment. As Mr. Graves mentioned, the SB 17 compliance audit, I want to remind you that that's something that you have elected to add on to your list of regular audits, which I think is a good thing. As Mr. Graves knows and has been reported to you, the State Auditor's Office is actually going down the list of all 50 community colleges and conducting a deep dive audit, and so this will better prepare us for when our number gets called up. Just wanted to let you all remind you of all that.
The board will accept a motion to accept the audit report. Motion by Dr. Adami, second by Dr. Babbely. Any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. McDonald is going to come back up and walk us through an annexation, possible annexation decision.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In accordance with the Texas Education Code, Section 130.066, automatic annexation of certain territory. As the City of Corpus Christi annexes property, then Del Mar College may also annex the property. So on February the 10th of 26, the City of Corpus Christi, I thought that was gone. I'll continue. The City of Corpus Christi passed an ordinance annexing 109.109 acre tract of land owned by ZBK LLC, located along the south side of FM 2444, or South Staple Street, east of County Road 43 and west of County Road 41. And that was per the owner's petition. So the recommendation of administration is the annexation of the property as annexed by the City of Corpus Christi. And here is the map. It's less than a mile from the Botanical Gardens.
Any questions for Ms. McDonald? Is there a motion to approve the annexation? Motion by Mr. Garza, second by Mr. Loeb. Any additional questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Mr. Babbely raised his hand as well, so that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Just a comment. We've done a lot of annexations in the London area. At some point, can we get a map showing the London ISD boundaries and the amount of area that Del Mar is part of the Del Mar district?
Yes, I do believe we have started the conversations on redoing our maps in general. So yes, sir, we'll add that to the list.
We'll have that for you, sir.
Because it's getting to the point where it looks like, I mean, I know London goes a far ways to the west and encompasses a lot of farmland, but we're rapidly annexing a good chunk of London School District's property.
Yes, sir.
Duly noted, sir. We'll have those maps provided to the Board of Regents.
It is going to be a patchwork.
Huh?
It is going to be a patchwork, that's for sure.
Right.
All right, item number 7 is discussion of possible action regarding the faculty recommended for tenure and promotion. Dr. Escamilla?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I am going to, well, first of all, as per the recent legislative sessions, the laws have changed in terms of reporting what I regard as an opportunity to celebrate faculty and the strength of faculty positioning here at Del Mar College. That being said, some requirements are new to the process in regards to bringing for full consideration to the Board of Regents through the President's office for consideration of approval. That being said, I'm going to, Dr. Halcomb, if you can come up to the podium, both Dr. Halcomb and I are going to read a couple of memos. We're going to try this one time this way and then seemingly, hopefully perfect it as we move along in coming years. That being said, I'm going to read a memo. Dr. Halcomb will take a deeper dive and read not only her memo, but also bring before you the list of names for your consideration. So that's how we're going to tag team this one, right, Dr. Halcomb?
Right.
Okay, let me get my glasses. So that being said, in accordance with Texas law and Del Mar College policy, the Board of Regents, on the recommendation of the Chief Executive Officer, may grant tenure to qualified faculty members. The conferral of tenure on the specific faculty members listed on the attached memo dated March 6, 2026, memorandum from Dr. John Halcomb, Vice President of Chief Academic Officer, is hereby recommended. The background: Texas Education Code Section 51.942B authorizes the Board of Regents of an institution of higher education to approve tenure decisions on the recommendation of the institution's Chief Executive Officer. Accordingly, college policy provides as follows: B6.7.7, granting of tenure. By May 1st of each year, the CEO of the college shall recommend to the Board of Regents those faculty members that have met the requirements to be considered for tenure. As reflected in the March 6, 2026 memorandum, which is included in your packet and will be up on the screen shortly, the qualifications of the individuals recommended for tenure have been thoroughly reviewed, and I hereby recommend the granting of tenure for these individuals. Recommendation: It is recommended that the board, based on the CEO's review and recommendation, approve the granting of tenure to faculty members identified in Dr. Halcomb's March 6, 2026 memorandum. Dr. Halcomb.
Yes, and I'll review my memo quickly. On March 6, in accordance with College Policy A 6.6.8, I submitted my recommendation to Dr. Escamilla for the faculty whose applications met promotion and tenure requirements. In collaboration with respective department chairs and deans, we conducted a thorough review of the faculty's tenure application and recommended their conferral of tenure. Thus, in accordance with College Policy B 6.7.7, I hereby request of Dr. Escamilla approval to convey the following faculty names to you for review and consideration of faculty conferral of tenure at this April 2026 meeting. Each faculty's name that I'm going to mention has met criteria for tenure as outlined in our college policy. Dr. Kamal Adhikari, Brad Earling, Dr. Robert Perillo, Dr. Kelly Vincent, Paul Creasy, Albert Curry, Ryan Gutierrez, Preeti Kulkarni, Lisa Torres, and Raymond Wallace.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Are there any questions for Dr. Escamilla or Dr. Halcomb?
I make a motion that we grant tenure to the persons recommended, as recommended by staff, president.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Quill. Second by Dr. Adami. He's closer to me, sorry. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Halcomb or Dr. Escamilla? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Congratulations to our faculty members, and thank you all for your very thorough process.
And we do have one over there.
There we are, there's Paul.
Paul Creasy is
Congratulations.
right there, yeah.
Nothing like sitting in the meeting and seeing if your promotion's
Good
going to go through.
good way to punish them. Make them sit through the meeting.
All right, and item number 8, Dr. Halcomb and Dean Davis Merrill are going to present a proposal for electrical line worker level 2 certificate approval.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dean Davis Merrill and I are presenting a new certificate level 2 electrical line worker award to you for your approval today. As we do the presentation, I wanted to mention that Paul Creasy, who you just awarded tenure to, he's the interim chair over this potential program, and he will be here and available to answer questions as well. And I understand that he does have a person from industry with him today to support the line worker certificate. You want to introduce yourself? Okay.
Yeah, with the many industry partners that we have, from small companies to large companies, Mr. Porfy from Malik Air Conditioning was able to clear his schedule today and be here with us to show support. They're one of our largest employers that help us with HVAC, electrical, and plumbing employment opportunities for our students. And they were one of the big communicators in looking at this new line worker program that we're bringing to the academic side.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here.
The proposed electrical line worker level 2 certificate is one award within a suite of stackable credentials. And if we look at this slide, you can see where students can start out receiving an occupational skills award as an electrical apprentice. They can then go on to a level 1 certificate, taking more of the electrical courses, and then choose to go into the electrical line worker, the level 2 certificate. I want to note here on the electrical line worker level 2 certificate and those new courses that we want to add to the inventory, there is one for the CDL, which is very important and industry wanted upon graduation for the commercial driver's license. They want the students to be ready to go with that license. So I think that's a very important point in this coursework. So all these line worker courses you see have gone through curriculum committee, and they are new courses here in our inventory, or will be upon approval and the coordinating board approval as well. So if a student does the OSA or level 1 certificate, they could earn around $39,000. But if they become the electrical power line installers and repairers, anywhere from $50,000 to $126,000. Now, of course, if there's a disaster like a hurricane, they'll probably be making a little bit more than that to get us back up and going. They're extremely important for this community and for our industry partners. I'm going to now ask Dean Merrill to talk more about the program.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Regents. This transition has been developed through ongoing collaboration and input from key industry stakeholders, including AEP Texas, Nueces Electric Cooperative, Robstown Utilities, and the San Patricio Electric Cooperative. We held discussions with both leadership and field personnel within these organizations, along with current students in our electrical program. Student interest is already clear, and we currently have 3 students in the electrical program who intend to transition into the line worker program once available, along with 8 prospective students on our call list still waiting for the launch of the certification. We have also collaborated with peer institutions, including Tarrant County College, Lamar Community College, and Kilgore College, to review program structure and implementation. Tarrant County College, for example, runs a cohort model each fall, enrolling approximately 10 to 14 students, with a part placed in internships with Encore Electric and the remaining seats open to the public. Industry partners have expressed dedicated support for this program. They recognize the value in developing students with broad skills in electrical and utility distribution systems, rather than training limited to a single physically intensive role. And additionally, partners have emphasized the importance of offering this as a college credential, as it provides current and future line workers with a pathway into leadership and management roles within the utility industry. This slide is a list of the Texas colleges that already have an electrical line worker or electrical technology program. Currently, in the program, there are 113 students in the electrician program, and progression shows interest in the program from students and industry. These awards are through the electrician awards. The first line is the associate. In 2022, there were 11, 23, there was 26, and 24. We had 45. The designation on those is that we are doing something a little bit different than what other people have done, where we're starting out with the program at an OSA and then through a level 1 certification before you go into the line worker program. So there's a progression, and the good thing is the students are already in the electrical program, so we're not having to go out and hustle those up.
You have a question?
Sure.
On the level 2 certification, will additional apprenticeship hours be required for licensing? So do they have to be employed to finish the certification, or will they finish it at the time that they finish the program?
I'm sorry, I could barely hear you.
Sorry. I'm trying to stay away from the microphone.
Okay.
I'm kind of sick. So I was just wondering, with the level 2 certification, will there be additional apprenticeship hours required for licensing, or do they finish at the end of the program? I was just kind of wondering how that worked.
Yeah. And then also.
So they will have,
yeah.
so essentially it's 4 years in the industry to make the 4,000 hours required for their journeyman certification. So the hours that they do spend with us in the program will count towards their licensure, because our program is overseen by 3 master licensed electricians, so we can sign off on their educational hours. It will then make up the rest of the time while out in the field to get that journeyman status.
I have a question. So structurally, when we offer the certification programs, level 1, level 2, I guess a question for the provost and for Davis, you two, is how are these programs administratively structured on the campus? Do they report to an academic unit, or?
Yes.
And which academic unit would that be?
That will be under the Department of Air Conditioning, Automotive, and Aviation.
Okay.
And so that's the department chair right here, and the instruction will be done through the electrical program.
Got it. Thank you. That's all I need.
Okay. On this slide, this program shows all the credit courses. There are a few programs that have the line worker program as a CE course, such as Kilgore College and a few others. Kilgore is a 10-week program with no prerequisites or prior electrical training or experience, and the CDL is an extra fee. Lone Star is a level 1 certification in CE. Faculty assigned to the line worker and hydraulic courses have documented industry experience and instructional expertise in electrical systems, safety practices, troubleshooting, and applied laboratory instruction. These competencies directly align with the technical skills and learning outcomes required in line worker and rigging coursework. Line worker courses will be instructed by current electrical faculty and adjuncts along with SMEs from industry, the subject matter experts. The program currently has foundational electrical training equipment in place, including electrical trainers and a derrick digger truck, which will support initial instruction in utility construction and equipment operation. To fully implement the line worker program and provide training aligned with industry standards, added equipment will be needed in the following areas: training infrastructure and field simulation, utilizing utility poles and pole yard setup for climbing, framing, and line construction, cross arms, insulators, hardware for overhead distribution systems, transformer training banks, and utility transfer equipment. Underground training components comprising of conduit, vaults, and terminations. Line worker tools and personal protective equipment are also needed in this area, along with equipment and vehicles such as a bucket truck, support trailers for tool and equipment transport. One thing with this is we just received 3 trailers and a Ford F-150 that has been moved over from CE to support this program, which was very, very beneficial and helpful to us. Plus adding rigging and lifting equipment. The consumable materials, conductor wire, connectors and splicing materials, transformers, fuses and protective devices, insulating materials and replacement components for lab activities. These resources are necessary to replicate the real-world utility environments and ensure students gain hands-on experience in pole climbing, line construction, equipment operation, and system troubleshooting. The addition of this equipment will allow the program to meet industry expectations and prepare students for immediate entry into the workforce. The projections on graduates: once the students complete the Level 1 certification, they can choose their next step in the electrical program as detailed in Slide 4. We expect interest will continue during the next 5 years by adding line worker Level 2 certifications.
I'm going to ask Jackie Landrum to come forward. She did this projected budget beautifully for us, but she can explain it best. I do want to point out on the faculty or adjunct line, you may see more adjuncts expected year 1, and it's to get the program going, basically. And these, I think, are very conservative estimates. If we have robust enrollment, there will be additional need. But then, of course, the cost and the funding will, hopefully the funding will always outweigh the cost. Jackie?
Thank you, Dr. Halcomb. So with the information that I received, and I wanted to point out on the performance funding, that would be when they earned it, not when we would receive the funds. We know there's a lag due to the way the state funding works, so this is when they would earn it. So based off of the information that I would received for year 1, it was $152,000 with the tuition and fees. I think there was 24 students in year 1 coming in. The cost, they would need 1 faculty member, 2 adjuncts, and then the benefits associated with that. And then that first year, and they would need about $125,000 in supplies, and those to fund the things that Dean Merrill was talking about. After that, then it drops down to $36,000 each year. I will point out on the faculty adjuncts on here, last week I was homesick working on this. I did obviously forget to carry that $60,000, so there's $50,000 missing on each of those categories. I want to be accountable for that, so my mistake, I apologize for that. So year 1, we would see we wouldn't see a surplus for year 1. We would see possibly $120,000 deficit, but then going forward, we would see an income and overly, you add in that 50,000 that I missed in each of those years, so I would say about $900,000 increase in revenue and state funding over the 5-year period. Are there any questions?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say, I think a lot of people don't know that line worker is a more dangerous job than being a police officer or a fireman. And in some cases, 10 times is more dangerous. And so I want to thank you all for putting this together, because this professionalizes that program to the same extent that our police and fire academies are, and it's that important, and it should be thought of as a public safety function. And so it's great that we have an industry partnership. I would just say, kind of the same thing that we say on healthcare is, let's make sure that we're training them on the same equipment they're going to be using in the field, because it is, it's important to teach them safety on the equipment that they're going to be using every day. So this is great, and I hadn't thought about that from the BAS program, how good that will be in order for them to have management that also did the job, and how important that is. We wouldn't think about that on police and fire, that they should have senior management that doesn't have a career as a firefighter or a police officer, but we haven't had the pathway historically here for that to happen, and so that's great as well. Thank you very much. I'm a definite yes.
Jackie, I'm not going to pick on you because you were homesick, and I appreciate
Yes,
that. But in the future, it's okay to show the performance funding at 0 for year 1, and we know it's going to ratchet up as the program gets going. So that doesn't bother us at all to show what the real projections are for year 1 compared to what your anticipated enrollment's going to be, because we know it's going to catch up.
Okay, thank you.
I think also may not need the full certificate, but some of the other line companies, like telephone company, cable company, also have a need for people that they're training these skills in. So that's another opportunity.
All right, so I think I'm not hearing anybody concerned. I appreciate all the presentation materials. Is there a motion to approve the proposal for election?
Second.
I don't know who said that first. I'm going to go with Dr. Turner, and there, Lori seconded it. Who said it first? Dr. Adami. So is there any other comment on the motion? Any public comment on this? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you all very much for your work.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Regents. Our next steps will be going to SAC COC and the Coordinating Board. Thank you so much today.
Thank you.
One quick thing, Sydney Somby was a very big help with us also, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Somby. All right, the board is going to go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel, Government Code 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development, and 551.074, personnel matters. Board, we're going to meet in room 236, which is generally that way, and we'll try to get there as quickly as we can with just a short break. The time is 3:42. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the board has come back from closed session. Do we have everyone here? Yes, we do. The time is 4:28, so we do not have any action coming out of closed session. Looking at our calendar for the next several weeks, we do have the Stone Writing Center 50th anniversary. I encourage board members to attend. It's from 11 to 1. At the Heritage Campus in the White Library. We have our Employee Service Awards on the 17th, 8:30 for breakfast, 9:30 for the awards program. Please RSVP to Delia so she knows if you're attending or not, so that she can reserve space and have everything ready. And then one of my favorite events of the year, outside of graduation, is the spring tea party with Chef Claudia, Chef Elizabeth, and the baking pastry students. That would be April 24th from 11:30 to 1:30. Again, please RSVP to Delia whether or not you are attending, and she will reserve a space for you. Our May board meeting is going to be back to our regular time on May the 12th, and then we have our service pinning ceremony on the 14th and commencement on the 15th. There's no other questions, and we have no other business before us. Our meeting is adjourned at 4:29 p.m.